So I wanted to talk about using a 4-foot grow box in a Mittleider garden. And I know there's a lot of people that are building these, they like them, and when they're starting a Mittleider garden they seem to want to start with this. And I don't know if it's because they have seen David's videos and that's what he started with, and because of that, that's where folks want to jump in. 4-foot grow boxes, I understand the appeal. First off, I can build one 4-foot wide grow box, and that gives me two 18-inch growing areas for my garden. And that grow box is half the cost of building two 18-inch wide grow boxes. So there is obviously a financial benefit to going with a 4-foot box. They're not always ideal in your garden, and that's what I want to talk about. On stuff like here, this is my potato and sweet potato grow box. It is a 4-foot grow box. This is the only 4-foot grow box that we run. And the reason that I do it is I can plant these two crops. They grow in here, and I don't have to get into it, or I don't have to get to the back side of these potatoes. And you can't see my sweet potatoes. A deer just come through and mowed them off. But I don't have to get to the inside of the sweet potatoes or the potatoes to do any pruning or anything. I can access them from the outside entirely, and it doesn't cause any problems. Now, when you start getting into growing vertically, your tomatoes, your beans, your cucumbers, melons, anything like that where you're growing vertically, I would shy away from a 4-foot grow box. And let me walk up to my 18-inch grow boxes and I'll try and show you why. Alright, pruning day is today, so please excuse the mess in my aisles. I am halfway through pruning this and I'll come back and clean all that up in a minute. Anyway, your grow box, your 4-foot wide grow box in a Mittleider garden, some things it's not going to be ideal for, and my tomatoes here are a perfect example. This is my in the garden greenhouse, and we have two 18-inch grow boxes in here, and for my kale over here it would be fine. You can grow kale in a 4-foot grow box and you wouldn't have any major issues. Now these tomatoes and anything else that's growing vertically is going to be a challenge, and you may want to consider this as you plant in your Mittleider garden. Now, they're all growing in one row, and they're growing 9 inches apart. And every other plant is alternating the direction that it is growing. One of them is growing to the inside of the greenhouse, the next one will be growing to the outside. The ones that would be growing to the inside of your green box, the ones that will be growing to the inside of your grow box are going to be difficult to reach. You're not going to be able to prune them. You're not going to be able to string up the twine to get them to grow vertically very well, because you're just not going to have room to get in there. You're not going to have room to get behind it. And when I'm pruning these tomatoes, and again this is in my 18-inch grow box, I am walking both on the inside and the outside of that row to get to all of my plants. And there are times even that I will prune from the inside. I think that I have everything done. I will go around the other side to get to another plant, and I see a sucker or something that was needing to be pruned that I couldn't see from the inside. Once I got to the outside of that row, it became evident. If you look back in here, and I know it's difficult to see, just behind this 4x4 post, just to the right of it, right here, is a tomato plant that is approaching 5 feet tall. Today I let a little twine out, lower it down to give it more room to grow. From the outside edge of that tomato plant to the outside edge of the one opposite of it is a little more than 3 feet. And if this was a 4-foot grow box, with that being one side, and about here would be the other side, you would not be able to get here to prune and to run your twine up these plants. You could. I won't say you can't. Anything is possible if you're determined, but it would be an absolute pain. It would be a lot of work, and you run the risk of getting into your tomatoes and breaking something off because you have to crawl through them to get to the inside. Okay, with that being said, don't be afraid to grow in the dirt. A lot of people seem to believe, and again, I wonder if it's not from watching David's videos, that to grow a Mittleider garden you have got to be in a grow box. That is not factual. You can grow in soil, like I'm doing here, and you can grow just as good of a garden as you can in a grow box. Now, there are benefits to the grow box. Don't get me wrong, they absolutely have their purpose. I have them and I like them. I grow the majority of everything that I have in soil. And as you can see here, I've got some spaghetti squash here that are pushing 8 feet tall already. They're doing well. They're in my soil. The soil has lots of clay. So again, my recommendations on a grow box. The 4-foot grow box is going to save you some money. If you're absolutely determined that you've got to grow in a grow box, it's going to be half the cost to build one 4-foot wide grow box than it will to build 2 18 inches. If you're growing crops vertical, I think you're going to do yourself a disservice by starting with a 4-foot grow box. It's going to be a nightmare. No, it won't be a nightmare because it's your garden. It's going to be a lot more difficult to care for and keep your garden pruned and healthy the way that you're supposed to do it if you're fighting that 4-foot grow box. So plan your garden, again, assuming that you absolutely have got to do the grow box, and any of the crops that you're going to be growing that aren't going to be grown vertical, you can manage in a 4-foot grow box. It will work for you. Also plan to have an area either in the soil, like what I've got here, or in an 18-inch wide grow box for growing stuff vertically.